All right, glad to have you back. Let's quickly breeze through the headlines again, just in case you missed it the first time. The Vanguard reports protests rock APC Secretariat in Abuja as Amosun Akeredolu throw weight behind Buhari. I remain committed to Nigeria's unity. Go on. Okay. Of course, so that you can see this. All right, looters list, not violation of person's right. That's according to the court. What the court is saying is, if you feel that your rights have been violated, you do have the right to go to the court to seek redress.
Well, it's just that the interpretation of the court at times, it's very confusing. If you take the River State example, for instance, the court says something, the other one says another.
God says another thing. All right,
it keeps going on and on. On the front page of the Nation this morning, 9 die in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway accident. Youths to Obasanjo, Atiku should drop Obi or lose. That's some threatening statement there. Ex-governor eminently qualified to be running mate. Other stories here, presidency, nothing to fear over Kanu. And our campaign for Buhari, Sanwo-Olu says Amber Day. $8.1 billion MTN6 fair deal. All
right, to the Punch now. The top column there above the masthead. FG to limit number of children per mother. I wonder how many mothers are excited to hear this one. And, well, files everywhere. NHIS files, you know, for pensioners and what have you. That's on the front page there of the Punch. What else do we have here? Buhari's alleged lopsided security appointments split southern and northern senators. Unfortunately, 10 die as young shall grow driver rams into a stationary truck. CBN raises capital requirements for microfinance banks. All of this on the front page of the Punch.
And for the Daily Trust this morning, it's talking about the Electoral Act. Senate approves card reader for 2019 elections. Pegs presidential campaign spending at 5 billion naira. Governorship 1 billion naira. We hope that there will be someone monitoring this time around. Gawon tells Buhari, Atiku others to accept outcome of 2019 poll, and Shonakan not dead. Ogun government Alake say. IPOB, British authorities brief federal government on Kanu travel documents. That's in page 3.
All right, the Daily Sun, presidential poll, National Assembly pegs campaign funding at 5 billion naira, and Defense Council Southeast exclusion splits senators. Accept results of 2019 polls. Gowon tells Buhari, Atiku and others what the elder statesman is saying is not a do-or-die affair. My relationship with Buhari intact, and that's according to Amosun, the governor of Ogun State there. 9 die in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway auto crash. That's all really from this Daily Sun. All right, and there seems...
Well, there seems to be no end in sight to the standoff between the embattled Executive Secretary of the National Health Insurance Scheme, Usman Yusuf, and members of the Medical and Health Workers Union.
Yes, indeed. And a mild drama played out as the NHIS boss stepped out of the office with armed security presence. And on citing him, the members of the union quickly shouted chants for his removal.
Kind of person that claimed to be working
Yusuf has remained adamant about his latest suspension by the Governing Council and has continued to work in this capacity as the NHIS boss. The various unions insist they will continue protesting until Yusuf vacates office to allow for proper investigations into his alleged involvement in fraud and maladministration.
Okay. Well, we have health editor of Vanguard newspaper, Shola Ogundipe, joining us this morning. Good to have you on the show.
Good morning.
I'm sure you've been, covering developments in the NHIS. The workers insist Professor Usman Yusuf must go. Reminds one of their Limon Go days. And he's adamant. He's saying, I'm not going anywhere. And then this twist of having about 50 security operatives actually go with him to the office on Monday.
Yes, it's a running battle, like we've heard. But really, I think, due process, should prevail.
That's what government is saying. That's what the government is saying, that it has to, this removal of the executive secretary has to go through a due process. But I wonder what exactly would be due process in this case, because the NHIS workers are saying that the president should do the needful. And as far as they're concerned, the needful is to remove the executive secretary.
Well, if we look at the decree setting up the National Health Insurance Scheme, Decree 35 of 1999, it's clearly stated there. The executive secretary is appointed by the president on the recommendations of the Minister of Health. And procedure for removal is also clearly stated there, if there is any breach. So that's why I'm talking about due process. So there's really no need for...
The question here really is, if the Government Council has the right, backed by the NHIS Act, to not even remove, because what they have done is not removing, they only suspended him, that step aside for 3 months while we tackle all of these allegations brought against you.
Yes, again, if we go back to that decree, it's not really, because the Governing Council actually, runs the scheme. And the ES, by virtue of his position, is a member of that Governing Council. In fact, he is the secretary. He should be the secretary.
Yeah.
So, but the chairman of that council has specific rules. And it's not really clear whether there is, possibility of the council having the powers, to suspend or
executive
to remove.
secretary.
Yes, so it's all very subjective.
Okay, so it's still very, very vague.
Yes,
now,
it's quite vague.
The NHIS workers are saying, they're alleging maladministration, fraud, and all of that on the one hand, while the executive secretary, alongside his supporters, who actually went out to protest too, are saying that really this is just because it's no longer business as usual. The loopholes for so much money taken out of the NHIS, those loopholes have been blocked. I mean, when you reduce from 5 billion naira to about 1.3 billion, which is the result of the plugging of those loopholes, that is what the NHIS workers are fighting against.
Well, the minister set up a panel of inquiry last year to investigate all these. I think the panel submitted its report. There were some indictments. And the Governing Council has also, stepped in now. So really, I think the investigators should be allowed to do their job. Because if an allegation is made against somebody, until it is proven, it remains an allegation.
But in developed climes, what we have seen obtainable is that when an allegation comes against someone who occupies a public office, it is required on that person to step aside.
Definitely.
To answer questions.
Yeah.
But some are saying the handwritings on the wall is that the federal government might, overrule the suspension of the Governing Council. They're saying it's happened before. That the fact the federal government just reinstated him in February of this year after an administrative panel found him guilty of allegations of abuse of office and maladministration sometimes in 2016 thereabout. What are your thoughts as regards it, especially the fact that it came back with police escorts?
It's quite there's quite a lot going on there. The Governing Council was just constituted. I mean, I think sometime in March or so. So it's just settling down, just settling in. And previously, there was no Governing Council. So we cannot really, we don't have a precedent, to look at. But talking about due process, just like you said, when an investigation is going on, the party involved should
Steps
step
aside.
aside so that there'll be no interference, or whatsoever. And all this is kind of, shifting focus, because the NHIS has its own set of problems. The scheme itself has its own set of problems.
Yeah, because some
which-
of the questions that's been raised
Yes.
since 13 years or so that the NHIS has been in
Yeah.
place. How many Nigerians really have benefited from it? And then how troubling is it when you hear the SSA to the president, the special senior special advisor to the president on media, Garba Shehu, say that, look, this whole NHIS thing has been politicized and, ethnicized. This
Well,
is a totally different dimension.
anyway,
Obviously,
I
on the part of
think,
the federal government, it looks like Professor Usman Yusuf is being protected or defended.
Well, that, it depends on, I guess it was his opinion. He was expressing an opinion.
His personal opinion?
Yes, probably
or the
his
stance of the
opinion,
federal
like every
government?
Nigerian has a right to his own opinion. But really, if we look at it, critically and objectively, already there have been, there are instruments built into the system, to take care of things like this.
Yes.
And even if we look at the Health Act, and that's in Decree 35 of 1999, about removal, yes, the president can authorize removal of any member of that scheme or the governing council, also on the recommendations of the Minister of Health. So if any party has been found wanting, wanton, of course, the law is there, everything is already spelled out. So there's no need, to be going off tangent and, hitting up all the policy like this.
The House of Reps has just resolved to set up another committee to, investigate the raging crisis in the NHIS. But Garba Shehu mentioned that two chambers of the National Assembly had in the past cleared the executive secretary of allegations against him. So I'm beginning to wonder on whose shoulders lie the responsibility to investigate this matter precisely.
Well, like I said, probably he was expressing an opinion, because, Nigeria is this is a federation, there are laws, and nobody's above the law. So, the law has to take its course. And the NHIS was set up, there are laws guiding it, and
yeah, but
all
nobody
this has
seems to be
followed.
looking at the laws or the rules here now.
Well,
if indeed there are allegations of financial crimes, mismanagement, maladministration, and all of that, you would expect that the EFCC, for example, should have stepped in by now. But that doesn't seem to be the case so far.
What we hear is investigation.
It will be investigated, and we still don't know who really is doing the investigation. And Isaac Adewale, the health minister, has said that reports he has not even been briefed fully about this goings on, and that, the federal government is taking appropriate steps to restore peace in the scheme. So I wonder what exactly what the federal government is doing and what it would take to restore peace, and what kind of peace are we even talking about?
Well, restore peace where? In the
NHIS?
NHIS?
Yes.
I think we need peace in the health sector. Let's look at it more holistically, because you can't take the NHIS out of, in context.
What's going on in the
exactly,
health
because it's
sector
it's a continuum. So if you have unrest in one particular part of the system, it's kinds of, it's a domino effect. It affects everybody, and I think really it's good that government is because this morning we had that. The Minister of Health, the Executive Secretary, and I think
SSG too.
Yes, they've all been
Mustafa
summoned,
also.
and they're trying to look at all that.
There's a long list of allegations here, and it's mind-blowing. The fact that the scheme had no approved budget for 10 months, refusal to amend the budget draft to reflect final council positions. They are also alleging in other offenses that they attempt to illegally execute 30 billion naira investment bonds unlawful postings and willful defiance of council directive, willful refusal to implement council directive on the disbanding of a
Very
legal
serious
union.
allegation.
And it goes on and on.
on.
As in, they even alleged that he had added some 50 million naira to buy SUV for a car that he got last year. This further, threatens the medical sector, the health sector, at a point in time where we're asking for more funding for government to pay more attention to the quality of healthcare of Nigerians. Wouldn't you say that the federal government really needs to begin to man up and act in these regards in really fighting corruption in the sector?
Definitely, I do. I do really, because you can't ignore, even if it's a false alarm or whatever. I think the right thing to do is at least, investigate and set the record straight so that, we move on.
Okay, moving on seems to be the challenge now because both sides are not ready to, step down. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Of course, Shola Ogundipe is a health editor at Vanguard newspaper.